A very welcome to you all to a specific segment today, which is Anthropology Optional. Specifically for OCS, that is OPSC Civil Services Examination. Okay. Basically, what the problem here is, what I have been going through is the students are very afraid, precisely due to three aspects. The first aspect I could really find out is the recent performance of Anthropology Optional in the past 3 years, that is OCS 2022, 23 and 24, where the results have been quite underwhelming, even though the students claim that we have written good answers. Okay, this is the first aspect. So the very easy excuse here is to allege the commission that they have been having a bias, right? So this is the first point. Second point, what is the next problem? What we have understood is the syllabus is huge. The syllabus is absolutely huge, and it doesn't have an overlap with UPSC's syllabus of anthropology in toto. Okay, so this is another aspect where students have been lacking. Okay. Third aspect. The third aspect is regarding content. The content primarily available here is not curated specific to OCS. I beg your pardon. It's not curated for OCS. So what we are doing? We are basically recalibrating the UPSC notes to our preparation of Odisha Civil Services, and thereby these fear factors which have crept into our understanding is not due to the commission's apathy towards the anthropology optional, but basically are gaps in our preparation, right? We have not been using the examiner's understanding of the subject, which is curated specifically for OCS, right? To address these kind of shortcomings, we have come up with a special program which is called ANTHROPATH Mains Lab. That is nothing but a free an answer writing session, a workshop curated specifically for what? Odisha Civil Services. Okay. This is specially designed for OPSC optionals. Okay. Why such a name? Because what we have been doing now is a very casual approach towards the subject. Right now, in our course, what we are going to do is, we will be taking of the most scientific of all approaches. To address this very scientifically, it is just like a pathological laboratory where the workshop will be undertaken and the students will be curated, doctored, engineered in such a way that they clear this examination, where the target is achieving 300 plus marks. This is our primary target. Okay. Now let us see one by one. Be with me till the end of this video, and you will learn so much of insights in this video that you might not have understood for the past 3 or 4 years from when you have been trying to appear for this examination, and for the new ones to start afresh. This is also a stepping stone towards their understanding of the nuanced understanding of the subject. Okay. So be with me. Let us begin our understanding. First things first. there are 6 broad aspects what we are trying to address over here. Okay. First, what is the decode here? So as we have generally spoken about, let me address it in a more nuanced way. See, whenever you try to prepare for a subject for civil services, it should be very, very important for you to understand that there are only 2 aspects, only 2 blueprints you must have for preparation. First is the official syllabus, right? And second is the repository of the previous year questions. So the first thing you already have with you. The second is the repository of what? The PYQs. So the PYQs we are trying to extract is only for 3 years, right? And that is post revision of syllabus by the commission, right? That is OCS 2022, 23, and the recent one is 24, right? So we have 3 papers, 1, 2 and 3, and across these papers we have paper 1 plus paper 2, right? In both papers we have 18 questions each, right? That amounts to 36 questions in one year, right? So across 3 years we have a total of 108 questions. Right? So this is the magic number. This is the first magic number in our discussion today. Okay? Please remember this number, which is 108. Okay? Now, let me head back. So, how many questions do we have? We have 108 questions. How many cycles of examination? 3 cycles. But the problem is, the most trivial understanding of this examination, where what we do is we try to answer all 108 questions, right? But this is not the correct methodology. Reason is, when you get these 108 questions in a repository, what you need to do is you need to map it with the official syllabus as to which phrase of the official syllabus is a certain previous year question pertaining to. Are you getting my point? Let me take for an example. If you say unit 11 of paper 1, okay, it talks about ethnicity. Right? Unit 11 of paper 1 talks about what? Ethnicity. This ethnicity theme, mark my word, theme, has been asked across all the 3 years, right? That means out of this 108 questions, around 3 questions have been asked just from ethnicity, right? Yes or no? If 3 questions have been asked just from one phrase of the official syllabus, that is what I call theme, how does it make sense to write 3 different answers with different perspectives with a lot of overlaps of one theme? Are you all getting my point? All the 3 questions we have 3 different types of questions for ethnicity as a theme, as a part of the phrase of the official syllabus, some phrase of unit 11 for that matter, yes or no? That means it is more scientific of us to prepare this theme ethnicity. How? In a holistic manner. That means you need to prepare the theme, not prepare the question. So is this understood? So after rigorous assessment of these 108 questions, mapping with the official syllabus of OPSC, what I have come down to is, or zeroed it down to, 61 possible themes across paper 1 and paper 2. Is that understood to all? Please take a moment to absorb. I'll repeat again. 108 PYQs mapped across 61 themes. What themes? These are certain phrases of your OPSC official syllabus taken together as a thematic understanding, not a topical understanding. I think this point is very clearly understood to everybody. Okay? Now let's head back to our slide. Now what we did is, we mapped these 108 questions into how many themes? The second magic number is 61 themes. Okay? Now, let's say we mapped it. So what? We also have a directive map for you, how to go about business by preparing these 61 themes. It is not your headache, it is our headache. We will be doing it. You have to follow the rules. Okay? There is only one way of success in civil service examinations, is only to follow the rules. There is no concept of intelligence. Intelligence is in building the overall framework, not in preparing the framework. Okay? Smart work has to be done. Okay? In a very, very nuanced approach. The second aspect. When I say 108 questions have been asked, does that mean all the themes from the official syllabus have been asked? I would repeat again. When I say a total of 108 questions have been asked till now, does that mean each and every phrase of your official syllabus has been touched? The answer is a big no. That means the conclusion is, remember we are taking a very scientific approach. So let us understand what's the conclusion of this very statement. The statement is, that means there are still some untouched zones in your syllabus which are still in the radar of your examiner, right? If you bank on those untouched aspects, there is a fair chance that you are prepared for the random bombs in the examination. I think you all would second with me on this very approach. So this is the OPSC edge. So that is what I say, some exclusive zones and untapped areas, right? These are some zones. Then the third aspect. This was the mapping aspect, this was the untouched aspect, and the next aspect I am going to talk about is some zones which doesn't have a match with UPSC and OPSC. When you go deep into the analysis of OPSC as well as UPSC syllabus, there are many topics which either are there in OPSC, not in UPSC, and vice versa. But we are here to cater for OPSC examination, so we will keep our understanding as OPSC exclusive zones which are not there in UPSC syllabus to be prepared for your examination. Is this point understood? There are such exclusive zones. That means these exclusive zones will not be available to you in your normally available content which is curated for UPSC. I think all of you would agree for that. So preparing for those exclusive zones becomes a bigger challenge. And here is where we come into the picture. Okay? So in our workshop, what we have done is we have kept a separate section. We will be dealing only with the exclusive zones. Okay? So this was the third aspect. Fourth aspect. We are the first ones to allege the commission that we are not getting very good marks, right? That there is some kind of bias going against us. There is something which is transpiring against us and we are not getting good marks. But do we really know what a good answer is? Here is where we come into the picture. We will provide you what should be the exact template. And we will be very close to the DNA of the examiner. Okay? There we will see, we will keep no stone unturned. We will keep no stone unturned to make the best possible answer in the limited time period we have given. That means within the sphere of time management, we will craft the best of the answers. Okay? We will see that using a sample question. Okay? Then comes the evaluation process. So this is one of the biggest zones where the aspirants are stuck, whether their answers are good enough or not. What is the benchmark? What is the standard? Yes, if such is the problem, if such remains the problem, we have come up with a nuanced solution for that. If you bank on a certain examiner, the examiner doesn't give you time. If you bank on a certain institute, the institute falls back. That is why what we have done is, we have designed a strict self-check or evaluation for the aspirants themselves. And for your kind information, when you learn to evaluate your answers yourself, around 80% of your answer improves. You have to keep that in mind. If you learn to evaluate yourself, you will improve your answer by 80%. The rest 10 to 15 to 20% is upon the evaluator. Okay? So how do we do that? Is there a course for learning evaluation? No. We will strictly provide you an evaluation checklist, whose sample I am just showing you right now. See. So this is an evaluation checklist what you will be provided. If you look at it, see, if you look at it, on an axis of 100, 60% is dedicated to what is the quality and quantity of the content, right? This one. The second aspect is what is the value addition you have done in the answer. Third, are you obeying the directive words? That means if it is asked for you to discuss a certain question, are you doing it according to the directive word of the examiner? Are you critically analyzing for that matter or not? So these are certain directive words, whether you are obeying that or not. Third one is what is the structure? Are you writing in prose or are you writing in points? If at all you are doing that, how clear is your answer? Are you clearly following a cause-effect rule or not? Do you understand what is cause-effect rule? When you prepare a skeleton of your answer in cause-effect basis, what happens? You get a clear picture of what has to be written. And once you write in this manner, your time is also saved. If you write it in this way, it again becomes a very scientific answer. Your answer never becomes incomplete. Then, if at all your statement is correct, How would you prove that? To prove that, you need to provide some examples, some case studies, or some evidence. Let's say you are talking about a question which is dealing with fossils, right? For a fossil question, you have to provide an evidence, right? For a socio-cultural anthropology question, you need to show some case studies, right? For some genetic related abnormalities, aberrations, you can provide some specific examples to substantiate your statement. Is it under a proper subheading or not? These all come under the fourth aspect, which is structure. The next one, from a distance, how your answer looks is what is meant by presentation. Do you obey the proper indentation? Do you have a legible handwriting? Do you have sufficient diagrams, or for that matter, I say visual tools? To convey your thoughts in a lesser time. Are you able to do that or not? When you look at all these 5 axes, you yourself can evaluate how your answer would look like. And for a 15 marker, what is the maximum mark which will be provided for content, value addition, everything has been provided, and you can become an honest self-evaluator of yourself. Once you do it, I'll again tell you, around 80% of your answer already improves. Okay? Eventually, when you enroll in the course, I'll teach you what aspect to be seen. From the evaluator side, what you will be getting? Again, a very scientific approach. You will be getting codes, error codes. That means these are the type of codes you will be getting. See, if your introduction simply narrates about the point, reiterates the question itself, that means your introduction is not good enough. In your margins, you will be getting I as the error code. Let's say you are not obeying the directive keywords, you will be getting the error code D. In the same way, all these 10 aspects will be provided you with an error code. Across 12 tests which has been designed in this workshop, you must calculate how many I's I have got, how many D's I have got. If you calculate them, you will finally get a performance fact sheet that where is that aspect which I need to work upon. Let's say an aspirant X, okay, does everything perfectly, but always lags behind conclusion aspect. That means across 12 tests, that person has got around 40 C's. That means that person needs to work on conclusion more than any other aspect. This is what is meant by a scientific evaluation. Understood? Then I have provided you a checklist. In that checklist, when you write an answer, when you are finished writing an answer, you can see whether I have completed this aspect. First aspect is introduction is opening in one of the 3 sharp ways, whether it is a definition from a valid definition, a verbatim definition. Second, is it relevant to some kind of context? And the third, any thinker, any scholar, any anthropologist whose anecdote is contextual, if you have done all these things, you can provide a check here. Then comes, is the directive word obeyed? Provide a checklist. Have you provided the name and the content of a scholar or thinker? Provide a checklist. Have you made a certain hand drawable diagram? Hand drawable means something which you can practically replicate in the examiner, not some fancy infographic diagram which is available in normal textbooks. No, you have to learn those diagrams which you can precisely replicate in your examinations, not the fancy ones, but a one which is legible enough and shows what the context what the context of the question is. The third, then the next checklist, then the substantiation point, an example, case study, evidence, something. Have you highlighted the keywords or not? This is where most of us lack. If we have not highlighted, we have to go back again and check. And are we adhering to the word limits or not? And this is very contentious in your case. It's upon you, okay? And with that, if your conclusion is a just one or a forward-looking conclusion or not, you just do not have to provide a summary to the examiner. That is what everybody does. But you are here to get an edge over the rest of aspirants, okay? So this is how we will be building an answer template, and you will be self-evaluating that along with your evaluator, okay? So this is another aspect. Let's head back. What is the next aspect here? Is the tracking. How basically we are tracking the performance of you as an aspirant. On demand, I'll repeat, on demand, you will be getting a personal dashboard. Across those 12 tests you will be appearing. How have your performance been? That is what you can learn from your personal dashboard. I can show you a sample also if I have it. Okay, I have it. See. So this will be the look of your performance tracker, okay? See. So this will be the page you will be getting opened with an HTML link you will be provided, okay? First, how many tests have you appeared? Second, what is the average marks you have got across the tests? Third, what is your projected score? That means this is our target, 300 is the target. Next, across from test 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, then full length 1, across the 12 tests, how have your graph been? In this example, this aspirant had previously, in the very first test, this aspirant had got 45% marks, and finally it increased to around 65 to 70% mark. And this line, this bar line is nothing but our target, that is 60%. 60% connotes to how many marks? 300 marks, and that is what our target is. And this aspirant in the full length 2 itself crossed this barrier and moved a notch above. When you are getting around 310 or 320 in your workshop, you will be very certain that you will be getting around 300 in your real examination. So this is the performance tracker. Then comes, what are the recurring margin codes, what I have explained to you, right? The E's together, the T's together, all the codes together, and from here you can see on which aspect you need to work. That means in this very sample, this aspirant was lagging where? This aspirant was lagging in citing lesser examples. So this person understood that I have to work more on examples. Then obeying directive keywords. This person was obeying the directive keywords well, but the examples were not well quoted. So this is one aspect which the aspirant needs to work upon. Then the 5 marking axis, that means the structure, presentation, content, value and directive on a weighted basis. How is that performance? If you can see, this student is good on directive, that is why the graph is stretching towards directive keywords and lesser moving away from the value added content. So this is how the performance tracking of this student will be understood by him or her. Then comes the last one. What is the band mix of all answers? So 12% of these answers have been excellent, 22 have been average, 28 have been good, and finally 10% have been pretty weak. If you get a performance tracker, you will get a better feedback of how to go about your preparation during the course of these 12 weeks across 12 different tests. Okay, I think you have understood this concept well. So let us come back to this part. Okay. So this point is regarding me. So for the past few years, I have been into mentoring, teaching, coaching students, evaluating the answers of the OCS anthropology along with UPSC anthropology students also, and I have almost 80% thematic hit rate of my questions in the test series with that of the original tests. The old students might know. You may check it out from the previous documents what I have. So this point would substantiate when you join this test series, then you can see whether this 80% hit rate works well for you or not. Okay, so this is another magic number. Okay, now let us head back to the next aspect. What is the next aspect? What I generally say is anthropology optional doesn't fail OPSC, you know. Anthropology optional doesn't fail OPSC aspirants. These three silent gaps too I have already explained. Okay, and basically unevaluated answers is the biggest enemy of yours, not the strict marking. You must keep that in mind. Okay, let's head back to the next aspect. Sir, already talked about it. Already I have talked about it. This aspect. That means our content, what we should be replicating in our examiner, we have no purpose built material. We have been recalibrating. See, we have been recalibrating UPSC notes to write an answer of OPSC optional. How does it make sense, sir? Okay. The second one, the answers no one marks. That means your examiner styled answers have to be replicated by you in the examiner, and what you are doing basically, we are rehearsing the same mistakes. That is why what happens, your knowledge stands at 70%, the marks you are getting is around 50 to 55% only. Why are we not replicating our knowledge into the real exam marks? The problem is here. What is the next aspect? Is the strict marking misread as the enemy. That means strict marking, the bias of the commission as we speak of as an excuse, is misread as the enemy. No. Are we really writing good answers? Have we ever talked about this point? OCS marks anthropology optional strictly. Yes, understood. I will take this point. Then are we well enough trained for that? To write an answer which is close to what is expected as an aspirant of anthropology optional? This is where this gap has to be bridged. Okay. Let us again head back. Then specifically about our workshop, there is one known face end to end. That means I am the only one who will be setting your questions. I will be the one who will be designing your model answers. I will be the one who will be evaluating your answers, and I will be the same person who will be guiding, mentoring you across these 12 weeks if you are enrolled in this workshop. Okay. So, and of course I will be the person who will be accountable for your success in any form of matter. Okay. So I am the one who is accountable. I will be approachable to you. So this is done. See, the whole objective is to pull this optional back to where it belongs. Why are we not picking up this optional? This question has to be asked. Are we providing the enough ecosystem here? Okay. I will be providing my 200%. The point is, are you ready for that or not? Okay. The next one. Then OPSC exclusive targeting, as I already said, there are some exclusive OPSC zones which are not there in UPSC syllabus. We will be targeting that. Now we will be having a multi-cycle PYQ decode. That means test built from 108 real questions resolved into how many themes? 61 themes. Okay, and that will not be from a reused UPSC bank. No, we will be separately taking up the more frequent themes will be asked you multiple times in this workshop. Okay, that means not only in the sectional test you will be getting that in the full length test also. Okay, and separately also we will devise a separate thinkers list. We will be devising a separate theory list. We will be doing that once we enroll and once we get into the business end of things. We will be doing that. Next, Odisha anchored enrichment in paper 2. In paper 2 we will further see that around 50%, more than 50% of the themes are directly related to tribals. And as you very well know, Odisha is a state who has the maximum PVTGs across India. A state which has maximum PVTGs across India, I think the number is 13. It does not make justice to our answers in paper 2 tribal history, tribal anthropology, when we are not quoting the tribes from Odisha also. Okay, so if you are asked a question on generalistic question on Indian tribes, you must make a deliberate attempt to provide an example of Odisha, right? Who is going to evaluate your real examination paper? It has to be somebody from your state itself, and somebody of your state will definitely appreciate your logic of incorporating an example which is pertaining to your own state. Okay, so that is precisely what we will be deliberately doing. We will be drilling that across mock test, and also we will be taking up different drills, okay, different type of drills, so that you remember it verbatim. We will be doing that. Okay, now let us head back to the next. Now, as I said, we did not guess what the paper is. We basically decoded it. How? Using a very scientific approach, right? We will substantiate how that has been done. As I said, please study the theme, not the unit. What we generally do is we take up units of various papers, paper 1 and 2, right? And we end up not finishing the whole syllabus first. Second, missing the way in between, where we are stuck somewhere in the untouched zone of what has not been asked in your examination. On those exclusive portion of OPSC, which is not there in UPSC, these all aspects are left behind. But what our target is, remember this magical number, preparing 61 themes. Okay. You will be getting this document also. You can go through it. Let's not waste time where it doesn't matter. Okay. Next one. Where the marks actually live. The next statistics across you. If you go across these modules, these syllabus unit wise, if you see unit 1, which is basically evolution, the primatology, biological basis of life and the human race, it is around 26% of the total weightage of the questions, right? The second one, the second in the rank is prehistory, the methods and the ethnicity aspect, what I told you previously also. Then comes the social institutions like kinship, marriage, religion, economy. Then comes human genetics at 15%. Then comes theories and schools, 12%. See, I'll specially talk about this very unit. Unit 8. We spend at least 50% of the preparation of paper 1 for what? Theories only, right? But what is the what is the weightage of the questions that OPSC has asked? It is just 12%. Now you for yourself, please understand, please make a nuanced attempt whether this 12% weightage deserves 50% of your time in preparation. This is what I mean by scientific preparation. Studying according to the weightage, not according to the not according to the marketing gimmick which is available with us, right? Then comes paper 2. As I said, from only the tribal units, 46%, around 50% questions have been asked only for tribal context. So accordingly we have to prepare. It is across units 1, 6 and 8 of paper 2. Okay, you will be getting more insights like this. Let's go ahead. The next one, what are the directive words which have been asked to you mostly? If you see, discuss appears in 53% of the questions, while this critical examination is only 8% of the question, and we are stuck that how should we write a question on critical examination while we leave behind the easy to go business with discuss. Okay, now as you can see, and that too, this critically that means you have to be critical mostly in paper 2. When you see, I think if I'm not wrong, not a single question across 3 years, that is in these 3 years 54 questions in paper 1 have been asked to critically analyze something. No, they have just asked you to describe, discuss and explain. So you have to understand that even a superficial layering of paper 1 will do your job, while a more nuanced understanding of paper 2 is required to get this magic number 300 plus. I think this point is also understood to you. Let's move ahead. As I said, there are certain topics in OPSC which is not precisely there in UPSC, right? So the calibrated notes of UPSC doesn't make sense in OPSC, and I have provided you what are such units which are not there in UPSC but there in OPSC. So देखो, in unit 1.2 you can see geology is a special mention which is not there in UPSC. Then in unit 2.1, then 2.4, in some parts of unit 4, unit 6, unit 8 and the entire unit 9. And as I told you, 4 questions across 3 cycles in paper 1 have been asked from a certain OPSC exclusive zone, that is ethnicity, right? And unit 10, you have extended case study, PRA, FGD, which is not verbatim mentioned in the UPSC syllabus, somewhere implicitly mentioned is there, okay? But this is how we have to prepare this subject, okay? Let's move ahead. Now this very slide talks about the untouched section. That means there are certain untouched zones which still your examiner has not asked you from the syllabus itself. That is what we'll be targeting. So leave that to me. We'll be catering that in the test series itself. Okay. The next one. This is one very important zone. Whether you join this course or not, if you want to prepare in a good enough manner so that you get a rank, not only get selected, is to understand what is the notion of layering. Sir, what is the notion of layering? Point is, see, certain questions which have been repeating thematically from time to time. I'll again quote this example of ethnicity, unit 11, ethnicity, right? Across 3 years, they have been asking 4 times, right? If they have asked you 4 times, how do you expect them to address? Is a superficial answer going to suffice or get you good marks? No, you need to earn some brownie points there. How? You have to add various layers. That means upon a superficial layer, you have to put a topping of another layer. That is a certain value addition. Let us say if at all that doesn't suffice, you have to put another layer, right? That might be in the form of some kind of schematic, some kind of flow diagram, some kind of mind map, some kind of technical diagram for that matter, okay? This is how you have to do some layering. But in such certain topics, which are barely or rarely asked. Why do we have to do a lot of layering? See, layering looks good, okay, but it takes time. In the examination, you don't have a lot of time. So you have to make a very decisive approach on which type of question we have to provide a lot of layering, that means heavy themes. On which type of questions you need to provide the question, the layering to be in a relatively minimum, that is the template ones, lesser themes, less heavier themes, and certain questions which required moderate layering. How do you get to know that? You will get to know from our course documents. You can see there is these color codes. This maroon one has been implicitly mentioned in your course itself. This is a heavy theme, this is a standard theme, this is a template theme, according to which you will learn how much I should be layering in the examination, real examination. Do you all understand that? This all things have been done in a very scientific way, okay? Please adhere to these things, okay? The next one. The point is whether we know the content or not. Yes, most of us know the content when we have written the mains quite a lot of times. We have been preparing this to an elite level. Yes, we have been preparing the content. So we very well know the content. But the marks is not only in the content, it is in the craft, how you write this answer. You will learn how. See, I'll prove it. See, what is the problem? What we do is, we try to write the answer in point-wise format, but often when we try to write, it doesn't become a point-wise manner, it often becomes a prose-like structure. And what we hope that the examiner finds the point out of it, and finally we run out of the words before the value addition, and we fail to manage the time, and finally we pay ourselves a very good excuse that I could not complete the question on time precisely due to the fact that the question was lengthy. No, the point is we did not have a prior understanding how to address this question, as I told you, in a cause-effect manner. Okay? That is where you will be learning that. So how do you do that? Firstly, you need to prepare a skeleton of the answer. Is that understood to us? In that skeleton, provide the keywords what you want to frame in an introduction. That is what I am saying during the preparation phase. In the final phase, everything will be mapped into you, and you will just vomit it or replicate it in the examination. I just want that you will be trained in such a matter that your real examination looks just like another mock test to you. Okay? It doesn't show a lot of, you don't have to show a lot of fear because you are well drilled to cope up with that situation. Okay? So what you have to do, maximum labeled subpoints and points with the word band, then an example case study to substantiate, then following with that, a thinker to be quoted, correctly applied in every answer. That means it has to be contextual. Then a hand drawable diagram, I keep emphasizing on this point time and time again. If it is a technical diagram, if this is a technical question, provide a technical diagram. For example, for a question on prehistory, let's say for a Paleolithic question, what they have asked, yet again you have to draw the diagrams, hand drawable diagrams of a Paleolithic tool, okay, of let's say Clactonian origin. So you have to draw that Clactonian tool, okay. If it requires a flow diagram or a mind map, you have to draw that. If it requires a typology diagram, you have to draw that. A schematic diagram, you need to draw that. What basically is running around the periphery of your answer is the value addition. Value addition will be provided by your what? Hand drawable diagrams only. Then comes mandatory keyword highlighting, just do not miss them. And so the vocabulary, which vocabulary? The anthropological vocabulary, okay, that is very important, okay. It is seen at a very glance, okay. Let us take the upcoming aspect. How do you open up an answer? How do you close it? That means we are talking about how to write a good introduction. A definition based introduction in Anthropology Optional is not something which is negatively portrayed. I'll tell you that. In certain questions, if you provide a verbatim thinker's definition quoted in which work of him or her, would provide you good marks. If that is the context, I'll tell you in our real course in which type of question you should be providing definitions. Then comes a hook which contains a data. Okay, let's say you are talking about demography. If you are writing a question on demography, if you don't provide a data as the hook in your intro, how does it look like? If you are not providing what is the TFR, what has been the trend of TFR in your data, how would a demographic question look like? This is something you need to understand. Then comes, in a certain question, if you are running short of time, if you are running short of words, the best thing to do is to quote a very good anecdote of a particular scholars, okay, a thinker, scholar, an anthropologist. You quote it and frame it. Then comes the context. Let's say in questions which is related to feminism or transactionalism, okay, there the context becomes very important. Understood? That means what is the trajectory of marriage which has been shown in anthropology as a parabolic rather than a linear trajectory. If that is parabolic, it leads to the modern culture in which direction, that is the context you can provide in this kind of question and earn good marks. Okay. Then comes how to close the answer. That means what should be a proper conclusion. Okay. The conclusion should be forward looking, right? Then comes the judgment should be reasoned enough. Aisa nahi ki you are saying something out of thin air which doesn't make logical sense. Then comes, in certain question you can provide a suitable policy, a scheme, an initiative of Government of India or a global initiative which you can link it or some sustainable development goals which we can link it with the concept provided in the question itself. And then comes the continuum. Are we continuing? Are we creating perfect coherence and cohesion between the points in our question? This is something to be learned over and across these 12 weeks. Okay. So these are the four ways to open and close this paper. Okay. As a matter of fact, when I said you should be doing a lot of layering in heavy themes, the maroon colored theme, if you remember. Okay. While doing a lot of layering, I'll give you a certain example. Let us say you have a question on, let's say, Down syndrome, okay, and that has been a previous year question also. You have a question which is based on the theme which is called Down syndrome. How do you get to know whether this is a question of anthropology? Because a 10+2 student can also write a note on Down syndrome. Someone who is studying biotechnology can also write an answer on Down syndrome. Somebody who studies medical sciences can also write an answer on Down syndrome. And somebody who is a prospective anthropologist is also writing an answer on Down syndrome. How does the examiner understand whether your answer is anthropological or not, or whether you have incorporated trivial aspects or superficial aspects just like a 10+2 student would do? Or a technologically oriented answer, what a biotechnology student would do, or an answer which doesn't have any social relevance, but only treatment oriented relevance, right? That is in a medical science. How does your answer become anthropological nature? In certain questions, you have to be very sure that you provide an anthropological perspective, so that the examiner clearly understands that this person, this aspirant who has written this paper, has an edge over anthropology. Okay? How would you get to know that? I will be the one who will be providing you in all the content. Is that clear to everybody? Okay, thanks. Let's move ahead. So as you can see, this anthropological lens or perspective, what I have said, then comes a scholar's anecdote. That is something how you can enrich your answer by providing a scholar's anecdote. Then comes what are the type of different enrichments what you can provide. You can provide some thinker's name, a diagram, a mind map, a keyword repository, or a linkage from paper 1 and paper 2, like a certain news which can be linked to a certain concept of anthropology, like universalization and parochialization, tribe caste continuum, okay, like sacred complex. Understood? These things can be linked back to the thinker aspect of paper 1 that we can do in our answers also, and provide specifically in our answers that this is the link, that this is the certain link. This is something which will be providing you enrichment in your answer. And always remember, always try for +1 marks in every question. That will provide you an edge over your fellow aspirants. Okay. The next aspect. As I said, a diagram which you can basically replicate in your answer, not some fancy diagrams. If you have to draw the technical diagrams also, what basically I will do is, I will teach you even how to draw. Not only how to draw, let's say in 45 seconds. Okay, this is something you will be getting from that. Okay, how to draw in 45 seconds, some technical diagrams like the skull diagram, like the femur, okay, like some kind of stone tools, okay, these things you will be taught. Schematics you can easily replicate in your answers, mind maps, flow charts, these things you can do, okay. As I said, the aspects of paper 2, tribal aspects, where Odisha as a tribal repository can be used as an enrichment in your answer, even though it is not asked. For example, Bailey study in Bisipara, Vidyarthi sacred complex model mapped into Jagannath complex, right? Not the Kashi one, not the what? Gaya one. We are talking about the Jagannath tradition. Can the same concept of sacred complex be applied here? The answer is yes. Then comes the Hirakud and the Niyamgiri project. That means here the context of displacement, rehabilitation and resettlement of tribals comes into the picture, and specifically the Odisha tribal context comes into the place, right? This is how we can again further improve our answers, right? And I told you how to become your own examiner, right? So this is something which I have already discussed at length. Please go through it again, okay? Now what are the feedback layers? I told you how we'll be going with that. We'll be providing you margin codes, and across the 12 tests and all the questions you can make a track of your own, or we can do it from our end, but again I am telling you on demand only, so that you get a performance tracker. How did you fare in your test and how would you replicate that in your examination, okay? So this is how your tracker would look like. And finally, I'll tell you that what I have been saying you is not firing in open air or some coming out of thin air. No, it is built on a track record. I told you around 80% of thematic match already I have achieved, and I for one will be the first person to help you out in your whole anthropology journey as far as OPSC is concerned. A separate segment of UPSC Anthropology will be soon launched. Okay, then you can go through it. When I say this theme matters, it is just not a hunch. We have seen that these have been set in anthropology, lined up what OPSC went on to us, and more than 4 times in 5. Okay, this is the single reaction why you should trust this test series rather than some random test series where you don't know who your evaluator is, you don't know how scientifically these questions have been prepared. So here, the first of its kind in Odisha, that is what our tagline is. It is rooted in Odisha and it is built for rankers. We have to take this quality of education several notch higher, right? We will do it together. Okay, chalo, next. So this is some, these are the some students I have been mentoring. The last year, one of our students got 260 and scored 54th rank. In the previous year, one of our students scored 272 marks, secured a rank in OCS, and this is just a small subset of what we have been achieving. We will achieve it together. The point is, you have to follow the rules. How have been these test plans? That means we will be having 12 evaluated tests across 12 Fridays, right? 5 sectional tests, total of 8 sectional tests. 5 will be from paper 1 and 3 will be from paper 2. Clearly and precisely due to the fact of the weightage of paper 1, and the more you want to prepare, add breadth in paper 1, in depth in paper 2. Why? If you remember, critically analyze. Critical analysis is only required in paper 2 mostly. So we have to prepare accordingly. Here we have to cover all the aspects in more width so that you don't leave behind any concept. There is a more scope of questions to be asked, and 2 full length tests. Finally, on the final test day, on week 12, we will be having the full length test, which will be a very similar kind of a test that will be conducted on the same very day, simulated with that of the real examination. Okay. Now this is something what makes us different. You will be having this slide. You can go through it. Let us not talk about these aspects. Then one important aspect what students have been talking to me over these years, that there is no curated OPSC material for anthropology optional available to us. Thereby, this optional, the preparation of this optional, it doesn't become scientific. There comes the solution. In the upcoming 1.5 months, we'll be publishing the first Anthropology PYQ Atlas, where all the PYQs across these 61 themes will be completely covered with a full micro-thematic mapping, examiner's DNA, how to decode it, trend and pattern analysis. Now, what is the statistical analysis, what you have seen, how to draw diagrams, mind maps, how to include them, how to create visual value additions, how to create a keyword repository, paper 1 to paper 2 linkage, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. You will getting a lot more than what has been provided. Okay. If you get enrolled in this test series, you will be getting a flat 50% discount on the upcoming publication. So make sure you do it. Okay. Now, finally, I'll move across. We have just 25 seats available with us to work out this test series. So I would urge you to join as quickly as possible with a launch fee of 3,999 and a further early bird discount of 15% on the first 10 odd seats. So take a screenshot, scan this QR code and register us to get more insights into this program. Okay, so this is about anthropology optional, where we can take this optional several notch higher by doing a certain kind of scientific approach analysis to this subject. I'll take further 10 minutes, 5 to 7 or 10 minutes more to show you a sample question how it has been addressed. Please bear with me for the next 10 minutes or so. Okay. Let us say we take this for an example. I'll zoom it a little bit. Okay, see. Let us say we are talking about a certain theme, which is prehistoric cultures, Paleolithic culture to Iron Age. This is one theme, and this has been taken as a phrase from the official OPSC syllabus of Anthropology Optional. Okay, we have given it the name P1, that is paper 1, theme 22. Okay, so as I said, there are a total of 61 themes, of which 33 themes have been of paper 1, 28 from paper 2. Of that 33 themes, this is number 22. So, how many PYQs have been asked from these themes? In 2022, question number 9 has been asked. In 23, question number 5 has been asked. 24, 17 has been asked. Okay. We will address all three of them under this very theme only, and let's see how. Let's say we talk about this question. What it talks about? What is prehistory and why it is important? This is the first part of the question. Second part, what are the different periods of prehistory? Second part. Third part, write a note on Paleolithic culture. As a matter of fact, this is a 15 marker. So what basically you will be doing is, because there are 3 parts, you divide 5 marks each for 3 parts, right? The answer is no, you should not be doing it, because it is not very clearly explicitly mentioned that these 3 parts scatter with equal weightage. We cannot provide them equal weightage. Rather, we need to have a nuanced approach here, more decisive one, where we have to understand that this first part is around 25% of the question, because this is of trivial nature. Okay. The second part, again it should be having around 25% weight, but when you see the third part, it is a note of Paleolithic culture, you should provide it around half of the total weightage. Is that clear to us? I think that is clear to us. Now, for addressing these three parts of the same question, are we writing 3 different introductions? The answer is a big no. Ideally, you should be writing, but practically you will be running short of time, because OPSC has has this habit of asking a lot of subparts in a question. So you cannot write 45 to 50 different introductions and conclusions across the paper. What you have to do is create an introduction which takes care of all the 3 subparts together. Is that understood to us? Yes or no? So what you need to do is, first thing, prehistory question, it is important. It is important because 99% of our history is basically prehistory. Rest is only 1%. That is something you must mention here. Okay. Then some scholars' anecdote can work here. So John Lubbock in his book Prehistoric Times, what's the year? 1850, 1865. It is something you can mention upon here, and you can write a few lines which spans from part 1 to part 3. Okay. Then comes what? Addressing the first part. They asked you what is the meaning. Write the meaning of it. I told you, addressing the parts, writing the subheads. Subhead is meaning. How would you substantiate it? With an evidence. How do you substantiate with an evidence? We took the evidence of Harappan civilization, because this question was of a global nature. We took an example narrowing down, funneling it down to an Indian Indian example. That makes a lot of sense, right? Then the second subpart of this part is, why is it studied? Mention that in a cause-effect manner and again provide the evidence. Okay? Addressing the next part, that is the second part. What are the periods of prehistory? That means somebody might have provided the classification, the typologies. That means it was basically what? The 3H system which was provided by C.J. Thompson, right? Classifying into how many? Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age. Uske baad, how do you provide an evidence? On what basis? You provide it here. What are the subdivisions of Stone Age? You provide it here with an evidence. This time, see, the first evidence was a global example. The second example is an Indian example. An Indian example which is much more famous, so that the person who will be correcting your paper can make a lot of sense here. Okay? How do you enrich this answer? By providing a hand drawable diagram here. Dekho, the 3H system, first the prehistory divided into Iron Age, Bronze Age, Stone Age, right? So these colors are only for your visual understanding, so that you don't get confused. In the examination, you don't have to provide colors. Using a single pen. Further classification with some kind of short descriptions available here as labels, right? Under the diagram, you write what this diagram is about, and this is where the examiner will reward you. Last part, it is a note on Paleolithic culture. As I told you, the weightage I have provided is around 50%. So it is your decision how much weightage you will be providing in the answer according to the nature of the very question itself. So when you write the note on Paleolithic culture, the same format goes again. Lower Paleolithic, write a line or two, provide an evidence. Middle Paleolithic and Upper Paleolithic in the same way. Hai? Because this question is regarding what? Is regarding a Paleolithic culture. So stone tool typology is very important. That means this is a technical diagram. Providing a technical diagram here is mandatory. So what we need to do is, for lower Paleolithic, we have to write what? The older one tools, then Acheulean, then again the cleaver one. Then for the lower Paleolithic, we have the flakes, Clactonian origins. Okay. Then Middle Paleolithic, Levalloisian. Then comes Blade and Burian. Okay. These kind of things if you draw, and these are perfectly hand drawable, you can take a screenshot of that also. Okay. Finally, because this question has already been asked to you, a further question will be a more detailed question. So here you must have a second layering over it. How do you provide a second layering? By some kind of enrichment, and this enrichment will be a critical view. What is the critics regarding this 3H system that you can provide with an evidence to substantiate your point? You have been provided here. Okay. Then what is the link with paper 2? You can provide here. Then what is the scholar's opinion here? You can provide a scholar's anecdote here itself. Okay. Then what is the anthropological perspective here? And finally, a conclusion. In some questions, I will be providing you a keyword bank, that these keywords have to be used for your last ditch preparation in the 11th hour. So आपके पास अगर ये होगा, you can very well take this to your examination in your recent memory. So you can see how much level of layering has been done. From this, can I say this is nothing but a heavy theme? If you remember, I told you there are certain themes which I said are heavy, then certain themes which are standard with lesser layering, and the least layering will be required where? In the template layer. So these themes have been divided in that way. In the same way, this was the first question which was addressed, right? Then comes the second question, which was in 2023, significant archaeological sites, discoveries in India. Again, we provided the weightage and everything accordingly. Okay. And then comes the third one. Describe the lower Paleolithic culture of Europe with suitable examples. Here, suitable examples is emphasized upon, so you cannot refrain yourself from quoting extensively examples. Okay, so what we need to do, because this question is a very narrow topic, we have to go very deep into it. So again we have to provide the stone tool typology of what, of Europe. So वहाँ पे यूरोप में you can provide with some examples, some labeling of importance. Then comes what? Then because it is asking you examples, you need to draw a map of Europe and provide certain sites which are important, as you can see from the diagram itself. You have to learn to draw certain kind of maps. If you don't draw a map in these kind of questions, your 1 mark is at least been deducted, because this is expected by you in the examiner. How will you do it? That we will learn in the workshop itself. Okay, by practice and practice. That is the rule of our game. Okay, so this is how, and then you can provide a mind map also. Okay, so the overall picture is about learning how to frame a correct answer, how to craft an answer. Okay, this is an art. Answer writing is an art. It is, you have to craft an answer, you just don't have to create one. Okay, then comes, I'll tell you one more aspect. Is the course architecture. See, as you can see, this is our program architecture. As you can see, these kind of things, these things will be available to you. This is the schedule of our test, which will be available to you. Na? For all the tests what we have done, this is section 1. The first question will be named A1 because it is a 15 marker A. Then first question is 1. What kind of question will be asked? You will be asked from the core syllabus. Why does it matter? Because it is in theme 01, the first theme. What is the theme 01? You will be provided a list in the fact bottom. Okay. Then the second question is a repeat favorite of OPSC. They keep on asking it. So you have to practice it. From which part? Theme 2 and 3. And they have already asked in 2023-24. That means you have to write it with more sense of layering. Then comes what? A3. It is about evolution of hominid, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens as well as Neanderthalensis. So usko aapko likhna hai. It is a type what? It is a core syllabus type of question. Stage by stage human ancestry. Themes 4, 5 and 6 cater to that. In the same way, all the tests have been designed. If you can see, all the tests have been designed in this way. All the sectional tests, what I mean to say. Okay, so that your complete syllabus here is covered up. Now this is the list of all the 33 themes. Now you can see the first theme is about meaning, scope and branches of anthropology, where you have written this answer in section 1, question number A1. In this way, we have further classified into all the 33 themes into 5 different sectional tests across these questions. Okay. Now this is about paper 2. This is about the untouched zones, where we are touching it in these kind of sectional tests. How is it adding to that? And this is finally your course architecture. The final template what I want to show you is about certain questions which I expect in future they can ask specifically from Odisha in Anthropology Optional of OCS. So let us see what are the type of questions they can ask. Examine the problem of development induced displacement of the tribes of Odisha. In the syllabus you have been provided tribes of India. Here specifically it is tribes of Odisha, and assess the adequacy of what? Rehabilitation and resettlement measures. So what you can do is, this way you can frame your answers. How you have to frame the introduction. Here I had chosen to write a scholar's anecdote because of the extensive work of Verrier Elvin among the Baiga tribes of Odisha, right? And that was related to what? Tribal displacement and what? Rehabilitation. Then what is the scope and nature of the work? You can write. That means here you can provide numbers relevant to it. What are the facts relevant to it? Then comes why displacement impoverishes. That means what is the Chernia's IRR model? It is landlessness, joblessness, homelessness, these kind of things. You can articulate it from that. L.K. Mahapatra, a leading anthropologist from Odisha, also studied and added the risk of loss of access to education and community services, right? So this way you can build up this answer. Then again you can provide an edge by providing anthropological lens to it. Okay. Then in these kind of questions, I generally provide a policy link conclusion here. not just a forward looking one, but a very substantive one using a policy to be linked here. So how to build up that? You can build up here, and you can see this diagram for that. In this way, I have provided you around 5 to 7 questions from Odisha part also. So this is how our understanding of anthropology holistically, this study is also holistically, and we have been learning that holistically as well. I would expect students to take a lot of insights from this discussion, and finally, if they think this is the right choice, they can approach us using using our Telegram channels. You can directly WhatsApp me at this number. To show your interest in the workshop, learn more insights from that. Okay, start from filling the form from this QR code. Please scan it to fill in the registration form, so that we can contact you at to give you more insights about that course. The whole objective is to make anthropology a viable optional for OCS. What we have been seeing across the years, that anthropology has lost its sheen, its glory, what UPSC still has it in its repository. So together, let's make it happen and make anthropology a better optional, so that even the future candidates, future students would aspire more to take this optional. So we at Utkal Civils strive to build anthropology optional in the optional section for now, then GS3 content as well as Odisha specific content also. So with time, we'll be building some niche quality content which beats the market standards and overall helps in your selection and understanding. That is all for today. Jai Jagannath. Contact us. Prepare well.